diving into a fiery conversation that has set African Twitter ablaze. Now, why do some Somalis say that they are not black? Well, this debate touches on more than just identity, but it takes us straight into the heart of colonization and imperialism and politics of race, because let's be clear, the whole idea of black and white was never our creation, but it was an invention of the empire. So, are Somalis black, or are we still trapped in categories created to divide us? Now, let's unpack this.
Let's talk about why Somalis say, oh no, we're not black. As a Somali who does claim her blackness, I want to explain this with love. Because that statement comes from history, survival, and sometimes pain. First, Somalia isn't a part of the Western world. In Somalia, a deeply homogenous community, there's no reason to say you're black. Everyone looks like you. For example, like Nigeria, people identify by tribe or nation, not race. Race, as a qualifier especially, only becomes relevant to most Africans when they leave their country and step into a world that sees them through that lens. During colonization, Europeans didn't just divide our land, they divided our identities. Somalis were mistakenly told, ooh, you look different, you're closer to Arab, you're better. Those lies that were told by whiteness seeded the anti-blackness that still lingers today. And because Somalia was not colonized in the exact same way as other African countries, many Somalis grew up thinking that blackness was synonymous with oppression, something to escape, not embrace. But Western propaganda is global, honey. So in the same way that they show African Americans, or all Americans in general, that Africans are barbaric and starving, they show African Americans to the rest of the world as lazy thugs who are not to be trusted, violent. Many Somalis arrive here as refugees and want to rebuild their lives and think, if I distance myself from this label, maybe I'll be safe. There's still no excuse. My own mother, who struggles with anti-blackness and hates my dark skin, would always tell me, don't be a yo-yo, don't be a yo-yo. It's pure ignorance, but it stems from fear and lies. Here's the truth. African Americans are the moral backbone of this country. Every right, every protection, every piece of good experience that you are having in America was built through their blood, sweat, and tears. Their resistance, their strategic organizing, their sacrifice, it's the only reason why we have a foothold here today. And as much as Somalis want to say, oh, why do you care about black issues? It's because I'm in gratitude, and they deserve reverence and solidarity, not distance and disdain. So if you hear a Somali say, I'm not black, I'm not black, I'm not black. So embarrassing. Don't get offended. Pray for them. They're wrestling with a lie that's literally older than them. A lie that was designed to keep us divided. And remember, no matter how lost we are or how far we run, we're still all one.
All right, so we are here with
Kana.
beautiful Kana. The first question is, what nationality would you never date and why?
Somalian. Somalia.
Why?
Because they don't like us black people, innit? And they're black themselves and they're confused. You understand? When you ask a Somalian man what ethnicity they are, they say Somalian.
Most Somalis will not identify themselves as black, but they will, however, identify themselves as a Somali.
The Somalia is not ethnicity, it's a country. So I have Somalian friends,
Yeah?
and I'll tell them this, and they know it's true. And they will tell me about it. If I go with my group of black friends, they will tell me what the other Somalian group is saying about us. I heard about Jared, Jared, whatever it's called, West African or whatever, but they're really saying what you doing with that black thing, and I'm not trying to part with that.
Now, here's the controversy, right? Some Somalis, both on the continent and in the diaspora, openly say that we are not black. Instead, they describe themselves as a mix of African with Arab, even Indian influences, right? And many point to their lighter skin tones and their hair textures and centuries of trade along the Horn of Africa to argue they distinct. And it's not new, because for decades, Somalis have pushed back against being labeled black, especially in Western countries where black is actually tied to slavery and systemic racism and anti-black prejudice. Because for some Somalis, right, so rejecting the term black is about saying that we're not part of that narrative. So with that being said, let's talk history, right? I mean, the very concept of black and white was created by Europeans as part of the divide and rule system. Before colonization, our ancestors recognized differences, but none of these features meant like one person was superior to the other or inferior, right? It was only under slavery and colonization and capitalism that skin color became a tool for exploitation. The word black was turned into political category, one that meant to justify oppression. So when we debate whether Somalis are black, we're actually debating whether we should keep holding on to colonial labels that were never meant for our liberation, right? So let me speak from my position as a black South African. For us, black has always been more than skin color. Under apartheid, it was a category of oppression, but also a banner of unity. Because black came to mean Africans, colors, and Indians standing together against white supremacy. So when I hear some Somalis say we are not black, I feel torn. Because on one hand, I get it, right? No one wants to be defined only by oppression. But on the other hand, rejecting blackness can sound like rejecting African solidarity, and it can sound like we are above you, right? And that's dangerous because the world already treats African people with division. I mean, the North versus the Sub-Saharan, the Arab versus the Black, the diaspora versus continental. If we keep fracturing ourselves, then we weaken our collective power. And here's where the nuance is needed. Somalis, right, like your Ethiopians and Sudanese, are undeniably African. We know that. Their languages, their cultures, their histories are rooted in the Horn of Africa. But yes, they also have centuries of mixing through trade with Arabs and South Asians. That doesn't make them less African. It shows African diversity. I mean, the real issue is this. Black as a label was never ours. If a Somali says, I don't call myself black, I call myself Somali, I can respect that, right? Because ethnicity is real, right? Culture is real, nations are real. But if rejecting black means looking down on other Africans or embracing whiteness and Arabness as superior, then we need to call it out for what it is, which is colonial mentality. I mean, on social media, the divide was quite sharp. South Africans say we're all black, whether you like it or not. The world sees you as black, right? And others defend Somalis, saying identity is personal. Let people define themselves. And then there's the painful middle. Africans who say Somalis distance themselves from blackness until racism reminds them otherwise. And it's I believe it's a mirror of the bigger problem that we as Africans haven't agreed on what black even means for us. So here's my take. Somalis are African, full stop. Whether they identify as black or not, they are part of this continent and our futures are intertwined. But we must also confront the truth that blackness is a colonial construct. It was meant to divide us, and every time we argue about who is black enough, we're still plagued by the colonial's rules. So this question isn't are Somalis black, but the question is when will we stop letting outsiders define us? Because at the end of the day, whether you call yourself black or Somali or Zulu or Xhosa, the world of white supremacy doesn't care about those details. But we should care because unity, not labels, is what will truly liberate us, right? Now, I'm Naledi Mfoloe reporting for ADNC. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I really want to hear what your thoughts are on this. And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again. It is bye-bye.